The real reason why Tyreek Hill Miami experiment failed. During the year 2022, when Tyreek Hill signed with the Miami Dolphins, it was anticipated that this would be a move that would change the course of the game for both him and the team. The Miami Dolphins went all out and offered him a big contract worth $120 million over 4 years, with $72 million guaranteed. This was significantly more than he had anticipated receiving. In exchange, they anticipated a powerful run into the playoffs and potentially even a spot in the Super Bowl. 2 seasons later, however, it has become abundantly clear that the experiment has not been successful in the manner that was anticipated. Even though Miami has not been able to make a meaningful impression in the postseason, Hill has become openly dissatisfied with his circumstances. But what caused everything to go wrong in the first place? Let us dissect it in detail. A money-driven decision. It was immediately apparent that Hill's choice to depart Kansas City was driven by financial considerations from the very beginning. Even though he had initially desired to remain alongside Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, the Chiefs could not move forward with contract discussions. In a public statement, Hill expressed his willingness to accept a lower salary to remain in Kansas City, provided that the guarantees were satisfactory. His agent, however, was able to organize a trade to Miami, where the Dolphins were willing to pay top price for his services after the Chiefs refused to fulfill his demands. A call came in from Miami, and they said something like, "Look, we're just going to go all out. We're going to pay you $72 million guaranteed." After that, I thought to myself, bro, I just can't say no to that. It was the initial warning indication that appeared. He was motivated to make this move not necessarily to put himself in the best position to win championships. Rather, it was about capturing the bag. Expectations that are too high, but results that are not consistent. Hill landed in Miami with expectations that were through the roof. Because of his blazing speed and his ability to spread the field, it was anticipated that he would completely change the offense of the Dolphins, particularly under the direction of the rookie quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. The fact that Hill was able to achieve career-high figures in receptions, targets, and yards during his rookie season 2022 is evidence that his exceptional abilities were still present. In addition to this, he reaffirmed his confidence in Tua by making the contentious assertion that he was more accurate than Mahomes did. As far as accuracy-wise, I'm going with Tua all day. With that being said, Hill's individual domination was not matched by the success of the Dolphins as a team. Despite having a solid start to the season with an 8-3 record, Miami experienced a 5-game losing run that almost completely ruined their chances of making the playoffs. Despite their best efforts, they were unable to advance to the postseason and were ousted by Buffalo in the wild-card round. Despite Hill's statistical supremacy, Miami was not designed to accomplish significant success in the playoffs. In 2023, the pattern remained unchanged. The Miami Dolphins once again struggled in the final stages of the season, even though Hill led the league in receiving yards 1,799 and added 13 touchdowns. They were eliminated from the division as a result of a defeat to Buffalo in Week 18, and then they were humiliated by a loss to the Chiefs in the playoffs, which was a game in which Hill was the only player for Miami to score a touchdown. Even though Hill was putting up outstanding stats, his squad was not succeeding when it mattered the most. This was becoming increasingly obvious. There is a decline in morale, as well as frustration and drama. Beginning in the year 2024, the Miami experiment started to exhibit signs of flaws. Hill was involved in a contentious incident that occurred off the field. This occurred before the season even began. In the hours leading up to the first game of the season, which was played against Jacksonville, body cam evidence emerged that showed Hill being restrained by handcuffs and pressed to the ground by law enforcement agents. The event generated concerns about distractions harming his ability to focus, even though he responded by scoring a touchdown that was 80 yards long and celebrating with a handcuff motion following the touchdown. Through the course of the season, Hill's level of annoyance increased. As a result of the Dolphins' offense struggling with inconsistency, his once dominant numbers began to decline. It has been less than 2 years since Tua had his third concussion, which has hampered Miami's ability to distribute the ball. Hill was accustomed to receiving targets in the double digits for every game. Nevertheless, he experienced a huge decrease in those figures, with games in which he only received 5 or even 2 targets. Frustration manifested itself in several different ways. Hill's rants on the sideline reveal that he was unhappy on many occasions during games, demonstrating his aggravation with the difficulties that the squad was experiencing. Confidential posts on social media platforms. Hill began sharing highlights from his time with the Chiefs, including a picture of himself with Mahomes that was accompanied by the statement, "This connection was special." Many people took this to be an indication that he was longing for the time he spent in Kansas City. Rumors began to circulate that Hill could want to leave Miami, which further fueled tensions between him and the team. Hill's departure from Miami was a topic of speculation. The breaking point, quitting on the team and leaving the team. Hill's tenure with the Miami Dolphins reached its lowest point during the season finale game against the New York Jets. Jalen Waddle was captured on camera asking Hill if he was done, and Hill appeared to react in the yes to the question. It was later verified by coach Mike McDaniel that Hill was unavailable late in the game. However, he did not specify whether Hill's absence was due to an injury or by his own choice. This moment was damning. For a player who had formerly been the ultimate competitor, leaving on his team during a vital game screamed volumes. It was obvious that Hill had undergone a mental examination, and it was plain that his experiment in Miami had reached its conclusion. What could have been worse? Hill's decision to leave a championship-caliber club in Kansas City to pursue a higher salary is an example of the wrong priorities. However, Miami was not structured to win at the highest level like the Chiefs were, even though he thrived on an individual level. 2. Exceeding expectations with Tua. Although Tua is a good quarterback, he is hardly Patrick Mahomes. The early praise that Hill gave to Tua appears to have been misplaced now since Miami has struggled in high-stakes games where the performance of an excellent quarterback is the deciding factor. Lack of success in the playoffs. Hill went from being a contender for Super Bowls to being eliminated from the wild card round on consecutive occasions. His legacy of winning culture in Kansas City was never recreated in Miami, where he left his mark. 4. Increasing displeasure. Hill's decreasing engagement in the offense and the Dolphins' troubles led to public displeasure, sideline tantrums, and social media turmoil. Hill's involvement in the offense became less frequent for the Dolphins. 5. Mentally checking out. Whether it was the cryptic social media messages, the visible irritation, or the supposed quitting mid-game, it became evident that Hill's heart was no longer in Miami. Hill's heart was no longer in Miami. Conclusion: an experiment that did not succeed. A new beginning was meant to be the result of Tyreek Hill's relocation to Miami, but in the end, it turned out to be a cautionary story. Although he was compensated like a superstar by the Dolphins, the team was unable to give him the championship-level environment that he had become accustomed to in Kansas City. Because Hill is currently considering his next move, it is quite evident that the experiment in Miami was a failure, and Hill may be seeking a new place to live sooner rather than later. Perhaps the best way to summarize it is by Hill himself. You think the grass is greener on the other side, and then you look up, and it's just grass. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. Do you agree or disagree with why the Tyreek Hill experiment failed in Miami? Let's discuss.